3 superstars, 3 divorces, and one decision that shocked everyone watching. Before we begin, tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. And don't forget to like the video. Kelly Clarkson just walked away from a 7-season talk show at the height of its success. But this wasn't about ratings. This was about something she saw Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani do first.
Gave me you for the ups and downs.
And what they built together made Kelly question everything about her own life.
I used to love you.
Custody battles most people never heard about. And a choice that will change how you see success forever? What really happened behind those studio lights? And why millions of parents are saying Kelly made the bravest decision of her career. This story hits different.
And since you've been gone.
That song wasn't just some radio hit. It was basically a confession set to music. And looking back now, those lyrics feel kind of prophetic if you really think about it. Because Kelly had been through the type of pain that doesn't just go away with time. The kind that rewires how you see the world and everyone in it. Her divorce from Brandon Blackstock didn't just end a marriage. It ended an entire version of her life she genuinely believed was permanent. We're talking custody battles. Legal fights that dragged on forever. Public scrutiny while she tried to hold herself together on camera every single day for millions of people watching. You ever had to smile when everything inside you felt like it was falling apart? Now multiply that by millions of viewers. Every day. For years. Yeah, that was her reality. But here's where this story gets even more complicated. Kelly wasn't the only one going through that kind of heartbreak during those years. Because right around the same time she was trying to rebuild her life, 2 other people were doing the exact same thing. And their stories would eventually collide in ways absolutely nobody expected.
But you just pushed me.
Gwen Stefani sang those words after her whole world basically collapsed. Her marriage to Gavin Rossdale ended after years of what she thought was this perfect relationship. Betrayal hit her like a truck she never saw coming. And suddenly, the woman who seemed to have everything was sitting alone, wondering how she missed all the signs that were apparently right in front of her face. She said later she felt like she was dying inside. Like everything she ever believed about love turned out to be a complete lie. That's heavy stuff right there. And then there was Blake Shelton. Country music's golden boy with the easy smile and that cowboy charm everyone loved. But behind all that was a man going through his own divorce from Miranda Lambert. 2 people the whole world thought were actual soulmates. Just gone. Blake admitted later he was in a dark place during that time. Real dark. The kind where you start questioning if you even know who you are anymore. Now, here's where things get interesting. Because all 3 of these people, Kelly and Gwen and Blake, they didn't just survive their heartbreaks in separate little bubbles. Their paths crossed. And what happened after that changed every single one of them.
Wait for the tone. You know what to do.
That lyric became an anthem for basically anyone who ever had to pick themselves up after getting completely knocked down. And Kelly lived those words more than most people realized. But here's the thing about surviving. It's not the same as actually thriving. And the talk show she built after her divorce became both her greatest achievement and probably her heaviest burden at the same time. Think about this for a second and really let it sink in. Every single day, Kelly had to walk onto that stage and be the bright, funny, warm person everyone expected her to be. She had to interview celebrities about their lives while her own life was still basically under construction. She had to laugh and sing and connect with audiences while fighting custody battles in courtrooms during breaks, while trying to be a mother to 2 kids who needed her way more than any studio audience ever could. And the crazy part? The show was a massive hit. Ratings kept climbing higher and higher. Guests loved being on there. Audiences sang along during Kellyoka like it was a real concert happening in their living room. From the outside, everything looked absolutely perfect. But here's something you probably don't realize about how television actually works. A daily talk show isn't just 1 episode per day. It's production meetings before the sun even comes up. Script rewrites during whatever lunch break you can squeeze in. Guest scheduling that changes literally every hour. Promotional appearances after you're done filming. Rehearsals that stretch into the evening when you should be heading home. And then you wake up the next morning and do the whole thing all over again? Now add 2 young children to that schedule. Kids who are growing up way too fast. Kids who have questions about why mommy and daddy don't live together anymore. Kids who need bedtime stories and homework help and someone to just be there when they walk through the door after school. About watching her parents split up and feeling all the fear and confusion that created in her. And now here she was, a mother absolutely terrified of creating those exact same feelings in her own children. The cycle she swore she would never repeat was staring her right in the face. And the talk show, as much as she genuinely loved it, was stealing the time she needed to break that cycle once and for all. But wait, this story isn't just about Kelly making a choice. because something else was happening in the background the whole time. Something that showed her exactly what life could look like on the other side of a decision like this. 1. Remember Blake and Gwen, the two people going through their own painful divorces around the same time? They found each other while working on The Voice together. And their connection wasn't some fake Hollywood publicity stunt cooked up by managers. It was two genuinely broken people, recognizing the same pain reflected in each other's eyes.
For only you and God to hear when you love.
That duet wasn't just another song to sell. It was actual proof that heartbreak doesn't have to be the end of the story. Blake and Gwen built something completely new from the wreckage of their old lives. They blended their families together, they found a happiness that actually looked and felt real for once. And Kelly watched that happen. She watched two people she knew personally choose love over career momentum, choose being present over performing for everyone else. And you know that had to make her think about her own situation differently. Because if Blake Shelton, one of the biggest names in all of country music, could step back and prioritize his family without completely destroying his career, maybe she could pull that off too. Maybe it was actually possible. Here's what most people don't really understand about Kelly Clarkson though. She never chased fame the way other celebrities seem to. From the very moment she won American Idol, there was something different about her. She wasn't trying to be perfect or polished or whatever record labels usually want. She was just being herself. That's exactly why people connected with her so deeply. That's why millions of viewers trusted her like she was someone they actually knew. And those words captured something real about appreciating the moments that actually matter in life. But somewhere along the way, between all the albums and the tours and then building this massive talk show, those moments started slipping right through her fingers without her even noticing at first. Her kids were growing up, and she was watching it happen through photos people sent her instead of actually being there herself. School plays she missed because of filming schedules that couldn't be moved. Bedtime stories replaced by late-night production meetings that ran way too long. Little moments that seem small and unimportant until you suddenly realize they're disappearing forever. And this is where the story takes a turn most people didn't see coming, because the signs were actually there the whole time for anyone who was paying close attention. The subtle shifts in how Kelly talked about her life during interviews, the way certain questions made her pause just a little bit longer than usual, the tiredness hiding behind her smile that even the best makeup couldn't quite cover up. Fans noticed? Way before any official announcement happened. They could feel something was changing with her, because authenticity is basically impossible to fake for very long. When someone is fully present and engaged, you can feel that energy. And when someone is quietly stretched way too thin, you feel that too, whether they admit it or not. But the question everyone keeps asking is this: why would anyone walk away from something that's clearly working? Why leave when the spotlight is still shining bright on you? And honestly, that question reveals something most people get completely wrong about what success actually means. See, we're taught from a young age that success means more of everything. More achievements, more recognition, more momentum building on itself. You climb the ladder and you keep climbing, because that's what winners supposedly do. But nobody really talks about what happens when you realize the ladder you've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall entirely. Kelly Clarkson built an absolutely incredible career, multiple Grammy Awards sitting on her shelf, platinum albums that went multi-platinum, a talk show that won Emmy Awards. By every traditional measure out there, she had completely made it to the top. But success has this strange way of becoming a trap you don't even notice closing around you. The bigger everything gets, the harder it becomes to step away from any of it. Because walking away from something successful looks completely crazy to everyone watching from the outside looking in. But from the inside, it can feel like the clearest, most obvious decision you've ever made in your entire life. And that's exactly where Kelly found herself standing, at a crossroads that millions of parents around the world understand all too well. The moment when life starts asking you a question you simply cannot ignore anymore, no matter how hard you try. How much is actually enough? When does the cost become way too high? And what exactly are you missing while you chase after everything the world keeps telling you that you should want? Those questions don't just show up all at once demanding answers. They whisper at first. They stack up slowly over time. Day after day, season after season. Until one morning you wake up and the question isn't whether you can keep going like this, the question becomes whether you even should. But here's what absolutely nobody expected to happen next. The announcement hit everyone like a complete shockwave. Kelly Clarkson stepping away from her talk show. Headlines were scrambling trying to find explanations that made any sense. Industry experts started talking about contract disputes and scheduling conflicts and strategic career pivots. Clean professional language that made the whole thing sound like just another business decision. But the fans knew better than that. Because anyone who had actually been watching closely understood this wasn't about business stuff at all. This was about something way more personal, something that had been quietly building for years behind that famous smile she wore every day. And to really understand what finally pushed Kelly to this moment, you gotta look at what was happening in her private life. The parts the cameras never got to show. The early mornings before the sun even thought about coming up. Kitchen tables covered with half-finished cups of coffee gone cold. The sound of her kids getting ready for school while she mentally prepared to become television's most relatable talk show host all over again. The divorce from Brandon Blackstock had been absolutely brutal on her. And I'm not just talking emotionally here. Legally, it was a nightmare. Financially, it drained everything. The kind of split that just drags on until you feel like there's nothing left inside you anymore. Kelly had to fight for custody of her children while at the same time being the face of a daily television show watched by millions. She had to smile big for all those viewers while crying herself to sleep behind closed doors when nobody was around to see.
Begged you to want me, but you didn't want.
She performed that song on American Idol years after she originally won the whole competition. And she completely broke down crying right there in the middle of singing it, because those lyrics weren't just clever words somebody wrote for her. They were literally her actual life story playing out. Her own father had abandoned her when she was just a kid. And now here she was as an adult, fighting with everything she had to make sure her own children would never ever feel that same kind of abandonment. Not even from her own busy schedule. That's the invisible weight she carried onto that stage every single day she showed up to work. That's what nobody sitting in that cheerful studio audience could possibly see. A woman trying desperately to prove she wouldn't repeat the painful patterns that had hurt her so deeply as a child. A mother absolutely terrified of somehow failing the two little people who mattered more to her than anything else in the entire world. But here's the thing about television. It really doesn't care about your personal battles happening off screen. The show must go on, no matter what. That's what they always say, right? And Kelly made absolutely sure that it did. Episode after episode, season after season, until eventually the personal cost became something she just couldn't pretend to ignore anymore. Really think about what it actually takes to be emotionally present and engaged for millions of people every single day of the week. To genuinely listen while guests share their deepest struggles and respond with real empathy that doesn't feel fake. To laugh from your belly and cry real tears and connect with people like you're having a conversation with an old friend over coffee. That kind of presence takes energy. Real, actual energy that has to come from somewhere. And it's the kind of energy that doesn't magically refill itself just because people clap for you at the end of a segment. Kelly gave that energy generously every single day. For 7 straight years, she gave it. All while her own emotional tank was basically running on empty fumes, hoping nobody would notice. Here's something that might completely change how you see this whole situation, though. During those exact same years that Kelly was building her talk show empire, she was also watching Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani do something totally different with their lives. They were actively stepping back from the spotlight. They were choosing each other first. They were proving to everyone watching that you actually could be successful and fully present for your family at the same time. Blake sang that song at their wedding, and it hit different because both of them had already been through marriages that completely fell apart. Both of them knew exactly what it felt like to lose everything you thought you had and have to start completely over from scratch. But they made different choices about what came next for them. Blake walked away from The Voice, not because somebody forced him out or his contract ended badly, because he genuinely wanted to be home more. He wanted to actually watch his stepkids grow up in real time instead of through pictures people texted him. He wanted slow mornings out on the ranch instead of harsh studio lighting at 5 a.m. And Gwen supported that choice completely, because she understood something most people in Hollywood seem to forget entirely. Fame is temporary, and it fades faster than you think. But family is actually forever if you take care of it. Kelly saw all of this happening right in front of her. She watched two people she personally knew and cared about, choosing presence over performance every single time. And you know that had to make her start questioning everything about the path she was currently on? Because here's an uncomfortable truth that nobody really wants to say out loud. You actually can't have it all. Not really. Not completely. Something always has to give somewhere along the way. And for Kelly, what was giving was precious time with her children during the exact years that matter most in their development. Her daughter River and her son Remington were growing up so incredibly fast. That's just what kids do, whether you're ready for it or not. They don't wait around patiently for your schedule to finally clear up. They don't hit pause on growing while mommy finishes up another season of filming. Every dinner you miss together is gone forever and you can't get it back. Every bedtime story you didn't read because you were stuck in a production meeting is a memory that simply never gets created. Those moments just vanish like they never existed at all. and Kelly knew this deep down. She talked about it more and more openly as the years went by. The guilt that came with missing important moments. The fear of eventually looking back on everything and realizing she had traded what was truly irreplaceable for stuff that was actually pretty replaceable in the grand scheme of things, but walking away from a successful show isn't as simple as just deciding to do it one day. Hundreds of real people work on a production that size. Writers and producers and camera operators and sound technicians and makeup artists and so many others. Entire families depend on those paychecks to pay their bills and feed their kids. Stepping away from something that big doesn't only affect your own life. It sends ripples out that affect literally everyone connected to the whole operation. That's what made this particular decision weigh so heavily on her heart. Kelly wasn't just making a simple choice between her career and her children. She was making a choice knowing full well that her decision would change lives way beyond just her own little world. But you know what? Sometimes the absolute bravest decision you can make is the one that looks kind of selfish to people who don't really understand what's actually going on. Because protecting your children isn't selfish at all. Choosing to actually be present and available during the years they need you most isn't some kind of weakness. It's honestly the complete opposite of weakness when you really think about it.
You felt so hard.
She sang those words about spreading her wings and finally learning how to fly on her own, about leaving behind everything familiar to go find something even greater waiting out there. And maybe, just maybe, this is exactly what that kind of flight looks like when it happens in actual real life. Not another hit album. Not another award-winning talk show, but a completely different kind of journey altogether. The reaction from her fans was immediate and surprisingly emotional. Social media absolutely flooded with messages of support pouring in from everywhere. Women started sharing their own personal stories about walking away from careers they loved so they could be there for their families. Parents admitted they understood exactly what Kelly must be feeling inside because they had faced that exact same impossible choice themselves at some point. And honestly, that's what makes this whole story resonate so deeply with so many people. It's not really about some celebrity deciding to leave a popular talk show when you get down to it. It's about a question that pretty much every parent eventually has to face at some point in their life. What actually matters more when you really stop and think about it? The life you're working so hard to build? Or the life that's quietly passing you by while you're busy building it? Kelly Clarkson built her entire career from day one on being authentically real with people. On being completely honest, even when it would have been way easier to be polished and perfect and fake. On crying during interviews when she felt emotional and laughing way too loud when something was funny, and openly admitting when things in her life were genuinely hard. That authenticity is exactly why people trusted her so much. That authenticity is why the talk show actually worked as well as it did in the first place. People could feel that she was real. So when she finally made this decision to step away, it wasn't some kind of contradiction of who she was. It was actually total consistency with everything she'd always been about. She was being the exact same honest person she had always been her whole career, just finally making a different choice about where to direct all that honesty and energy. Some people out there will probably never understand walking away from that level of success. They'll call it completely crazy. They'll say she gave up something most people would literally kill to have. And yeah, maybe from the outside looking in, that's exactly what this whole thing looks like. But from the inside looking out? From the perspective of a mother watching her babies grow up way too fast right before her eyes? This might honestly be the sanest, most rational decision she's ever made in her entire life. Shelton already proved you can step back from the spotlight and still matter to people. Gwen Stefani proved you can prioritize love and family without completely losing yourself in the process. And now Kelly Clarkson is proving something that might be even more important than both of those things. That knowing exactly when to walk away is just as valuable and important as knowing how to stay and fight. The talk show brought genuine joy to millions of people over those 7 seasons. Absolutely nobody can ever take that away from what she built. But the moments waiting for her at home now? The dinners together as a family? The homework sessions at the kitchen table? The random conversations that only happen naturally when you're actually there and present with the people you love? Those moments don't get television ratings. They definitely don't win any Emmy awards. But they're the ones you actually remember clearly when everything else eventually fades away into the background. So here's the question this whole story leaves sitting with you. And I really want you to think about it seriously for a minute. Because, honestly, chances are pretty good it applies somewhere in your own life too. When success starts asking you to trade away moments you can literally never get back no matter how much money you have, is walking away really the same thing as quitting? Or is it actually the bravest thing a person can possibly do? Maybe the answer isn't going to be the same for everyone out there. Maybe some people really can balance it all perfectly without anything breaking down. But for Kelly Clarkson, after everything she went through over those years, After all the heartbreak and the slow healing and the countless hours of giving herself completely to audiences who genuinely adored her, maybe the right answer finally became crystal clear. Some stages in life are just way too important to ever miss, and not all of them come with spotlights and applause. If this story made you think differently about your own choices and priorities, drop a comment down below and tell me about it. Have you ever walked away from something successful because something else ended up mattering more to you? I genuinely want to hear your stories. And if you want to see what really happened behind the scenes during Blake and Gwen's whole journey together, that video is waiting for you to watch right now.